On this episode of reDefine, I speak with Lindsay Adler about how she got into fashion photography in New York City and what it's like on a day-to-day basis.
Adorama TV presents The reDefine Show with Tamara Lackey, where she talks with creatives who make it all work, bringing their best creative and business tips to you, along with fresh ideas and equipment favorites.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Tamara. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Amazing.
Amazing. I have a list of questions for you right here, but you can't see them until I ask them.
That makes me worried.
I know. You should be. So you started your business at age 15 on purpose, and you've stuck with it.
Basically, I started doing photography when I was like 12 or 13, and I had the great fortune of selling a picture when I was 13 for I think it's like 150 bucks.
Who'd you sell to?
A calendar company.
Nice.
I had a friend who suggested I submit. When you're 13, 150 bucks is a lot of money.
It's a fortune.
Yeah. So I was thinking, if I want to do this, why not make money from it? Because then it can be my career, and I don't have to work to make money to do what I love. I can do what I love and have it make me money.
Genius.
So my mom was a hobbyist photographer, and my dad was in business. And so I basically said at 15, Mom and Dad, I want to start a business, help me out. And so they, helped me with paperwork and whatnot. And then I started taking portraits of upperclassmen, and so like senior portraits. And so that's when it started.
So how about breaking into fashion in New York City, which is not an easy thing to break into? How exactly did you do it? Like exactly.
Okay.
Don't leave out a step.
All right, here we go. I don't want to discourage people by saying it's who you know, because it's not who you know, like who you sleep with, kind of who you know, like not that kind of thing. It's who you know, who you make yourself known to. What ended up working for me is I did the marketing, I did the cold calling, but the who you know part, I did some editorial shoots where I reached out to a wardrobe stylist, and she had a company that styles celebrities, athletes, and musicians. And so I worked with her for fun stuff, and then as her business grew, she needed photographers to photograph professional athletes and for album covers. And because she trusted me and enjoyed working with me, she would always bring me on board. And so as her business grew, as her clients became bigger, so did mine. You meet this client, they can introduce you to others.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's not who you know, who your family knows in that way, it's who you make yourself known to. And so she was kind of my key, knowing that when I was able to move to the city, when I was finally, had enough money saved, had enough contacts, because I knew her, and she had kind of helped me build my network.
Excellent.
So it really is about people.
So it started, basically, it was the intention to build a relationship that was mutually beneficial.
Right. And it's knowing, it's also knowing, okay, what kind of team do I need? I need good hair and makeup, so when anybody calls me, that same day, I'm ready to go.
Right.
I can have a team. And the wardrobe stylist so that I can put it together. So it's basically, who's my team? So when that client's ready, I can present my team what I have to offer, and then we can work together for the final product.
So what was the first job that you had that you were like, oh my God, this is actually working? Like, this is actually happening?
Let's see, the very first job, well, a couple of them are for magazines. When this is less of a job, okay, secret to fashion photography that people don't know. Did you know that in most, like 99% of cases, those editorials, like say, in the back of Vogue, 8, 10, 12 pages, they pay basically nothing. Like 8 to 12 images that will appear in the back, and it's treated as an advertisement for yourself. So they will give you a budget, and for hair and makeup wardrobe if you want to go on location, but they don't pay you.
Interesting.
So that's kind of a whole other side note.
Right.
So like if you look in the back of Vogue, they maybe got paid $300, $400. For me, it was when I started doing big productions where, I'm sitting back looking at my set. I have hair and assistant, makeup and assistant, 2 models, wardrobe and assistant, a whole lineup of like $200,000 worth of clothes. I have my 3 assistants, and I'm like, I'm managing like 15, 20 people on a shoot for me for a magazine that this is going to be published on newsstands that you can find anywhere in the country. When my grandma calls me up next week and said, I picked up your magazine at Barnes & Noble, that's kind of the feeling of like,
that's your success. But but some of those big, amazing things are rewarding in one way and not another.
Sure.
Like financially. Like the whole money way.
Yeah. So as far as financially, it's going to be the commercial. Actually, I kind of have this scale. In general, the cooler it is, the less it pays.
Yeah.
The more boring it is, the more it pays. So like commercial jobs where you're shooting a girl in clothes, kind of smiling on a white background, But if it's for a big campaign or a big catalog, it pays you a lot.
Yeah.
Versus the really, really creative, high-end fashion editorial with crazy hair, makeup, wardrobe, it usually pays almost nothing. So it's this weird, kind of continuum.
Well, and what's really interesting about that is the amount of people I talk to, regardless of profession, so in all different like musician or actor or this or that, the amount of people who say, they're all kind of saying the same thing, which is those people with the dream jobs, it's you can have it all, just not all at the same time. You have to do this, and then you get your fill here, and then get your money here, and get your this here. And it's a really, really prevalent theme that I don't think many people are conscious of.
Right. So my example is when I first started off to kind of pay my way, even like through college, supporting myself, I photographed 1 by 1 inch pieces of tile. Like tile, macro, like 10,000. I got paid a very good hourly rate, and I got paid for licensing and usage of these images.
So tell us about the shipwreck.
So I was asked by this men's fashion label. It's called Asher Levine, and what they do is every single year for Fashion Week, which is coming up, they start their runway show with a fashion film to set the mood for that year's collection. And so they had seen a couple of the fashion films that I've done, and they reached out to me and said, we'd love you to shoot this film. And so they told me, this is basically how it works when you're talking with a client. They show me the collection.
Do you squeal when you hear that?
What?
Like when someone presents you with an amazing project?
Well, it's kind of like, oh yes, I absolutely can do that for you.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I can do that. Yes, it was so cool. So they're saying, okay, we want you to shoot this video. It'll be like a minute and a half. It's going to start the runway show. It's in front of thousands of people at this event. I'm really excited. And they're like, the actual runway show is going to be at a pier, one of the piers in New York. So if you can integrate what our collection looks like with something nautical, that'd be awesome. And then they leave it at that. And so this is what my job is as a creative. They give me some direction and then expect me to be brilliantly creative.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Which is awesome.
So what I did is I searched online and I discovered a shipwreck off of New York City, from where it's basically a junkyard where they take old ships and leave it there. And so I went down there and I scouted it out and I climbed up over fences and around and through things. And it's these gorgeous ships, sunken on the edge of the water.
What is the gist of the actual film?
Okay, so I'm a very normal person-ish. If you saw my fashion film-ish, right? It's like if you saw my fashion film last year, it was also really crazy and wacky. The one from WPPI. Same kind of idea. Basically, you see this creature coming out of the depths of the shipwreck. And he explores his domain, and it's all creepy, and it's zooming in and out, and it's him peeking around corners, and then eventually comes on land. So maybe he was born of the sea. He comes out from the shipwreck, and then he comes to get you. You know what I mean? It's up to your interpretation.
End it how you want to.
End it how you want to.
You should have alternate endings.
That'd be cool.
That would be
those
cool.
books.
Yeah.
Make your own ending.
Yeah.
I like those.
It could be kind of like a DVD where you just pick every end.
It's really it's nice for fashion photography, because you don't need to have narrative and you don't need to make sense. End of story. You don't need to make sense. So it's just great. So
it's just pure imagination.
It's meant to be. It's the community that's watching these things is more artistic. So you're meant to say, leave it up to your own creative minds to read into it.
Yeah.
Not that it's an easy out, but it's nice.
So the wackier it is, the more it's likely to be labeled as brilliant.
Absolutely. When I show in the fashion world, these videos are like, that is brilliant, that's absolutely, and then other people, when I show events like these, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
They're like, cool, it was pretty, what did it mean? And I'm like,
what did it mean to you?
Yeah, exactly.
So the director photography, do you have a preference? Do you like one better than the other? You like doing both?
So I prefer director, although it's very weird when you're not touching the camera. When you're directing, typically you're not actually touching the camera, you're telling what other people to do. But when I'm on a really big set, we're working with, giant studio lights, like the 10Ks, and they're just massive lights. It's really nice when you have the massive screen and you sit there and you say what you need, that highlight, one stop brighter, and you're telling them what to do, and then look, it's happening on your screen.
I know.
But I will say, when it's not working, this was nice to just be able to take over the reins. That's for this fashion film I did, very small set. I did everything with the camera, and then I knew it was exactly how I wanted it. So it's that weird. I think a lot of photographers don't like giving up anything.
Yeah.
But you also know, on a big set, everybody has their job. So It totally depends, and it depends on how much money's in it to hire lots of people to do stuff.
When you see people give up that control consciously, it does seem to be when they rise.
And all that being said, I'm not saying to anybody out there that you need to have a huge set with a huge team. Like, I've done some of my best work that was me, a model, and hair and makeup. I mean, 3 people.
Right.
And that's totally fine.
All right, so I want to go to the flash round with you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Ready? So rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Top of mind.
Okay.
No thinking.
Okay.
All right. We'll start out easy.
Okay.
Canon, Nikon, Sony, Pentax.
Canon.
Boom. Tripod, monopod, sometimes none or either.
None.
None. Ever?
I will, well, obviously for video, use a tripod, and then if I'm doing something where it's going to be multiple exposures, I do that a lot. I'll combine multiple shots of the model in the same scene, then I'll be on a tripod.
Okay, I have a follow-up question, but I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Piece of equipment you most love?
8514.
Piece of equipment you pull out just to impress a client?
Tethering, just
Tethering. To be able to show
like
them.
just
Piece of equipment that is the most obscure thing that you use?
Broncolor Pico spot projection.
Boom. 2.
It projects basically patterns on the face or wherever you want it to. So it's really cool for making interesting lighting and patterns.
Yes, and that is obscure.
Yeah, it's very obscure.
What you most want to get next in terms of piece of equipment?
Oh geez, that was, that was like a lot. Most what I want in a piece of equipment, I want some HMI lights to do more video.
Softbox or umbrella?
Softbox.
Constant or strobes?
Strobes.
Flash, no flash?
Both. When they have their, I'm using them when they're appropriate.
When appropriate.
I use flash.
Don't be inappropriate with your flash.
Exactly. I use flash in studio, and when I'm on location, I try to just do natural light.
Okay, you did very well with that, by the way.
Excellent.
Well done.
Excellent.
Let's go back to the tripod.
Okay.
So you said none, but you do for video, and then when do you for shoots?
Okay, so I'm thinking of a couple things. Jewelry campaigns. Have you seen the ones, I think De Beers had some ads where they'll have like a model and she has a ring on her finger, and she's kind of in the shadowy, dramatic light, but the ring is perfectly illuminated.
Right.
What I'll do is I'll have 2 lighting setups on set when I shoot that, and I'll shoot one lit for the model, and then we basically flip a switch, and it switches over to the other light for the ring, and then you can composite them.
Right.
So that might be an example. And then when I'm on location, sometimes I'll have a model like 2 or 3 times in one scene, so it's creepy, and it's like, you know, it's, I don't know, I could get all artistic and say what it symbolizes, whatever.
What does it symbolize?
I mean, the duality that you have within yourself. It's
The shadow and the light.
exactly. So you can do that. And so I'll put it on a tripod. I'll have the model, I'll shoot her in this end of the scene, have her switch her outfit, go to the other end of the, whatever the set was, and then composite those together. Things like that.
How much are you in Photoshop?
Interesting question. For quick and easy portraits, whether kind of commercial portrait clients, I have finally in my life gotten to the point where I do outsource some of my retouching because I only have so many hours in the day and I'm doing so many things. But that being said, I still do 75 to 80% of my own retouching. And for any fashion editorials or anything creative, whenever you look at it and you go, wow, that's really creative, I retouched it. When I shoot an editorial, for usually how I figure it out is 1 day of shooting equals 1 day of retouching, 1 full day of retouching.
Got it.
So I might shoot 3,000 images in a day for a fashion editorial. My first time through, I narrow it down to 300 images. And then from that, I'll narrow it down to maybe 16 that I retouch, 12 to 16 that I retouch. And then I'll do that. That'll take me like an hour and a half to kind of pick through. And then I'll spend that entire next day
So you'll deliver
retouching.
for a full day shoot, you'll deliver 12 to 16?
Yeah, and this is, okay, so when I say fashion editorial, that's again what I'm talking about in the back of a magazine.
Right.
Everything on a similar theme. For a client, it totally depends. It could be a campaign where they paid for 1 shot for that ad.
Right.
Or it could be catalog where I shot tons and I'm delivering a ton of images. So,
Like all the tiles? 10,000 tiles?
Like 10,000 tiles. It could be something like that as well.
When you get discouraged,
It
recognition flashes.
It happens, yep.
When you get discouraged, what have you found something that pulls you out, or is it just time, or is it perspective, or what is it?
There's a lot of discouragement that can come up, but you find those 1 or 2 things that pull you through. I mean, first of all, I feel kind of guilty as heck complaining about having the best job ever. I mean, I take beautiful pictures of people, get to work with creatives, get to hang out with other photographers and do what I love.
Yes.
So in the end, no matter what the discouragement is, I say, whoa. I mean, there are a million other jobs I could be doing that are actually difficult and actually, zap the energy out of you. Everything that I'm doing is feeding back into my passion.
You got a book coming out, right?
I do.
What's the name of the book?
This book is called Shooting in Light. Okay, this is the idea behind it. My first book was on business, new media and social networking. The second one was on fashion techniques for portrait. Both of those are very, very specialized and don't necessarily apply to every photographer. And so I wanted to write a book basically sharing my experiences of how much it sucked when I was first starting out to figure out how the heck to deal with crappy light.
Right.
Because you show up and it's like, oh, I'm asked to photograph a volleyball game and it's low light fluorescent. Like, this sucks. Or, okay, photograph this reception hall. You show up, it is pitch black.
Pitch black with giant ceilings.
Giant ceilings. Or
that are wood.
Or like red walls everywhere.
Yeah.
Or you show up and the client says, you know what? The only time we have time to do portrait is high noon, and we want in a field. High noon in a field. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I struggled for, basically all my teens, figuring out how to deal with crappy lighting situations. And so I decided to put it together in a book and kind of try to help people skip all that misery and all those really bad photographs getting to the right answers.
But I think that's very valuable. I do a portion in all my portrait workshops where I specifically take them out at the worst lighting. Yep. I deal with a child in the worst state. Like I will say, don't feed them, bring them.
Go pinch your kid, flick them.
Yeah, well, not abusive. But I say, start here, because if you can nail this, you'll first of all way appreciate ideal situations, which you should be choosing to shoot in.
Absolutely. Yep, that's the first chapter.
And you should be putting that out there.
Yep.
Yeah. But this way, this eliminates the fear of what do I do if I'm stuck?
Exactly.
You shouldn't be stuck if you've got the right tools, the right equipment, and you know how to work it. So let's learn that in a very hard way and get it done. Where can people find you?
I want to say everywhere.
Everywhere.
Because it's true.
I'm in the air.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You ready for this? Okay, first of all.
We'll scroll it too.
Okay, blog.lindsayadlerphotography.com is my blog, which I update pretty much every Monday. And I've got a whole bunch of resources and things. And I have my workshops and schedules listed on there. But I'm at Photo Plus, I'm at Imaging USA, I'm at WPPI, I'm Kelby Training, Creative Live, I have Photoshop Cafe, I have iPad apps, iPhone apps. So I kind of mean everywhere.
Everywhere.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
Turn on the internet.
All over the place. So.
All right, and then Twitter and Facebook?
Twitter is at Lindsay Adler, and Facebook is facebook.com/Lindsay Adler Photography.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time. This was actually really interesting. Not that I didn't
I was
think
like,
it was going to be.
What the heck?
No, this was very interesting because I obviously I know you and we've talked, but I didn't have that information, and I find it really intriguing.
Yeah, it's cool because I started off in portrait and ended up in fashion, and there's a lot of similarities, but there's also some
big
vast differences as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, well, good. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Adorama TV is brought to you by Adorama, your best source for the equipment and knowledge you need. For all the latest photography, video, and computer gear, visit Adorama.com. Place your order by 7 p.m. and it ships the same day. Plus, the next time you're in New York City, be sure to visit our store located on 18th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue. Check out the Adorama Rental Company for professional cameras, lighting, computers, and more. We'll help you make the best selection to match your needs while giving you the knowledge to achieve the best outcome from your rental. Adorama is your complete solution for equipment, printing, training, and more. Adorama, more than a camera store.